the first pilot assigned to the 100th?
Me and Butler.
You are in charge of 35 planes and 350 air crewmen.
Don't you die on me before I get over there.
Austin, we'll start with you. Last time you and I talked, you had just finished Elvis. How'd you go from shaking off the cane to immersing yourself in the world of the Bloody Hundredth?
You know, I didn't have much time in between, so it was just taking it one day at a time. Really, I had about a week off between finishing Elvis and then flying to England, and so I just
that's wild.
Yeah,
that's wild.
It was too fast, to be honest, but it was kind of what I needed, I think, at that time, is just give me something to immerse myself in, and then we had boot camp, which really was a great way of setting the foundation and sort of leveling the playing field, and that was it, you know, going to boot camp and learning everything about that time period and all the technical aspects and building the bonds of brotherhood and then that set us in motion.
Callum, what did you know about the real life heroes you guys depict in the series?
Well, originally I didn't know anything, and I think that's why it's important that we tell the show, because I'm a Brit and I've always been fascinated with World War II. But the stories have been British, really. I mean, Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers shed light on certain things, but not the 100th. And what these guys went through was the most severe warfare of all time. And it won't ever be matched, as you've seen in episode 3, you know. Just getting to know Johnny Egan and Gail Cleven and the rest of the guys and how brave they were and valiant and had guts, you know, really, really unbelievable human beings that ultimately saved the world and gave us our freedoms. To go into that and represent them and want to honor them and their stories and their legacies was a privilege. And so, you know, on a personal note, there was that. And then my character, you know, Johnny Egan, is a gift. I loved him from the beginning, and I wanted him to be someone that everyone wanted to go for a drink with, and I want to go for a drink with him, you know.
For sure. You just mentioned guts, Callum. I'll put this to you both, but Callum, you can kick it off. What did the series teach you about heroism?
You know, I mean, I'm just extremely grateful that these men and others, other people in that time stood up against evil. And I've often thought about what I would do in these situations, whether I was a French teenager in the countryside, how would I stand up against the Nazis, or an American, you know, wanting to help and protect Europe and the ideologies that they supported. You know, Johnny Egan's from this place called Manitowoc in Wisconsin. It's on Lake Michigan. I always had this idea because they joined up before Pearl Harbor. And I always had this image in my head of him just looking out at the horizon and thinking, you know, what am I gonna do with my life? And then this war started, and he was like, "That's it. I'm here to protect, and I'm here to help and serve." That just to be that brave and valiant and go and do that when he didn't need to was just inspiring, man. And how they protected each other and cared for each other, and the grief that they had to endure, losing friends consistently, is unimaginable. And, I'm just so grateful to them for that.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. I just would second that sentiment, you know. I feel so grateful to them for everything that they sacrificed back then, and you know, I feel privileged to have had the time that I had of getting to learn as much as I did, and to be in their shoes for you know, as much as I could for the duration of making this, and just you know, I was just struck by I never thought about the psychological toll that they would be going under. You know, as far as knowing that, you know, maybe only a fourth of you are going to come home today, but when you do come home, then you might go on a date in London that night, and then you got to go back up in that plane. That back and forth is just is unfathomably mentally destructive, you know. And so I mean, the amount of heroism that they had is second to none, and I just feel very honored to get to be a part of bringing their story to life.
Something big is brewing.
The 8th will be sending up the largest air armada ever assembled in the history of mankind.
Straight into Hitler's territory.
We need complete and total air superiority. That's the mission.